again, this goes back to like procrastination and lack of organization, I guess. But I have a good chunk sitting in the stable, just the regular stables on Polycub, and it's like, why do I not have those in like PHBD or BHBD earning, 3 times, 4 times the yield? So it's been on my to-do list, and 3, 4 weeks later, I still haven't to-doed it. Maybe I'll start messing with that tomorrow when I get some free time. Although, the other piece of that too is, liquidity and, trying to move big chunks into HBD is easier said than done, as you
Right.
even know personally. So I'll start pecking away at that myself to diversify, so to speak, within stablecoins,
Yeah, it's the UST situation really taught us that we need to hold a variety of stable coins. You won't be safe in any single stable coin, in my opinion, whether that's
Yeah, I mean,
regulation or
yeah,
you know.
yeah. Well, and it goes back, well, you know what? I'm gonna quote the infamous McSpreadsheet, and he once said, concentrated bets are for making money, diversification is for keeping money.
Right.
And it's true. And like, you know what? Anyone that was, kind of in the Terra LUNA ecosystem early and went hard, made a shitload of money. But, if they didn't diversify out into other aspects and other things after they made all that money, they got owned and lost it all. And generally you don't see that happen often, because that's what made them the money. So like you become, a maxi. And then that's, all said and all well and good until something blows up. So I actually used that line on stage this weekend, the
Nice.
concentrated bets, because it's something that's really hit me, because I've always been so good at diversifying that I've muted, I think, my returns, and don't hit those big home runs because I don't really have the size, because I'm so diversified, instead of being kind of just maybe a maximalist for periods of time in promising things. But
Yeah.
it's definitely smart, especially with the algo stables,
Mm-hmm.
because those are still an experiment. And yeah, HBD has been performing well, but that's also because it's freaking tiny and barely has an audience. If that was
True.
ever to blow up, so to speak, the way in popularity, the way that UST did, then we'd really see, they have to quote unquote stress test.
Right. Yeah. Well, the thing
So,
is, HBD really has a lot of things going for it that make it a lot better than UST. Obviously, that
oh,
doesn't make it
100%.
immune. Nothing's ever immune to blow up risk.
Yeah.
Anything you look at, USDT, USDC, even Bitcoin has blow up risk. Everything has some degree of blow up risk. It's more just about how large or small that blow up risk is. But HBD, that debt ceiling and the way that it works with Hive is just super interesting. And it's a big reason, one of the big reasons why Luna and UST blew up is just that debt just continued to grow and grow and grow. And then the risk of death spiral quickly became apparent, which is why Do Kwon started taking money and putting it into Bitcoin and saying that the Bitcoin was backing UST. But clearly that wasn't enough. I mean, that they had basically no debt limit. So, when it started to spiral downwards, it was a very quick death. Whereas with HBD, and I love tracking on this site by Osbit Dev. But you can basically track the HBD market cap and the Hive market cap, and it shows you the debt limit. So like
That's
right now,
sweet.
what's that?
I said, that's sweet.
Yeah,
Is there a
yeah.
link
So
for that?
the HBD market cap right now is 4.4% of the Hive market cap. So
Okay.
and the way HBD works is that it's just a debt instrument on Hive. So, one HBD basically represents $1 worth of debt to the Hive ecosystem. So if that debt doesn't grow too large, then there's no blow up risk, or at least the blow up risk is small unless the debt were to quickly increase. But that debt is so tiny. I mean, it's 4.4%. And it doesn't grow very much. So there's 9.3 million HBD out there. And that's obviously the Hive market cap right now is 209 million. So as Hive grows, HBD's potential market cap can keep growing. as the Hive price maybe declines, the potential debt that the Hive ecosystem can have declines as well. So it kind of creates this really nice equalizing system. The other interesting thing is that the DAO doesn't count towards the HBD debt limit. So, the reason for that is that money basically can't flow out of the DAO. It's except for the programmatic schedule of, like the proposals that get paid out. So there's basically a programmatic schedule for the HBD coming out of the DAO. So you don't need to include it in that debt ceiling. So yeah, HBD is super interesting. This is why I think, a lot more people will focus on it in the long run. And a big reason why, we've taken Cub and Polycub and completely changed the direction to focus very heavily on Hive and HBD. It's a lot of it is for this new focus on HBD that the actual Hive ecosystem has. And then a lot of it is for basically realizing that there's no good exchange for Hive and HBD. Binance has Hive, which is obviously the best exchange for Hive. Right now, the deposits for Binance have been offline for 2 weeks because of the last hard fork. So people who want to move Hive and HBD around are really struggling right now. And this is just showing us the growing need for decentralized exchanges and derivatives. So, what PHBD, PHive, BHBD, and BHive offer is simply a derivative for Hive and HBD that gives you another route or another avenue in and out of Hive and HBD. And, I think that the importance of that is really underrated. It's very important that we kind of decentralize liquidity, because Hive is, and I've tweeted about this, but Hive is, one of the best blockchains out there in terms of decentralization. And like I always say, decentralization is on a spectrum. So nothing is 100% decentralized. Everything lives on this spectrum. But I would say, Hive is up there with something like a Bitcoin in terms of decentralization. They're not perfectly decentralized, but they're also far more decentralized than most crypto projects. Vastly more decentralized. The problem is that liquidity for Hive is still very centralized, whereas liquidity for Bitcoin is very decentralized. There's plenty of DEXs. You have plenty of derivatives like WBTC that have a lot of adoption. And then you've got obviously a plethora of centralized exchanges that have Bitcoin listed. Hive does not have that, and HBD definitely doesn't have that. I think HBD is on one centralized exchange. Hive is maybe on like 3 or 4 that are noteworthy. This idea of DEX is just growing and growing in importance. And I really hope that we can focus as a community and build up the BHBD BHive and PHBD PHive liquidity, because if we can, selfishly, if we can draw a lot of trading volume to ourselves, we can build Cub and Polycub into like really successful derivatives platforms. And unselfishly, if we build the liquidity there, then we can build decentralized liquidity for Hive and HBD, which is amazing for the Hive ecosystem. So we kind of have that duality there that is really important.